If people don't feel your words, they won't follow your voice. That one truth changes everything about communication. Most people talk to be heard. Leaders talk to be remembered. The difference isn't in volume. It's in precision, clarity, strength, and timing. If your voice isn't respected, your ideas won't matter. If your words don't hold weight, your presence won't lead anyone. This audiobook is your guide to building a voice that commands respect without needing to shout. A voice that creates action without needing to impress. A voice that speaks to people's minds and moves their decisions. You don't need big words, you need strong ones. You don't need to talk more, you need to talk better. In this chapter-by-chapter breakdown, you'll learn how to communicate like someone worth listening to. Real, practical, direct skills that you can apply immediately in everyday conversations, high-pressure moments, and leadership roles. This is for those who want to lead, not someday, but now. If your words don't lead, nothing else will. It starts here. Chapter 1. Own every word you say with full confidence. That's where leadership begins. If you speak and your words don't carry weight, then you're just making noise, and noise doesn't move people. Noise doesn't change minds. Noise doesn't build trust. But when you speak with confidence, when you speak like every word matters, people notice, they listen, they lean in, and most importantly, they remember. Confidence doesn't mean being loud. It doesn't mean showing off. It means you stand behind your words. It means you believe what you're saying. And if you don't believe what you're saying, why should anyone else? Confidence starts when you stop second guessing yourself and start taking full responsibility for every word that comes out of your mouth. Most people speak halfway. They're not sure. They throw out phrases like, I think, maybe, I guess, or I'm not sure. And every time they do that, they weaken their message. They lose people. Because the truth is, nobody follows someone who sounds unsure. Nobody buys into a message that sounds shaky. And nobody gets inspired by someone who doesn't believe in their own voice. If you want to talk like a leader, you need to decide that your words matter. You need to mean what you say what you mean, and take full ownership of it. When you speak, people need to feel that you're serious. They need to feel that you're grounded, that what you're saying is not just talk. It's who you are. It's what you stand for. So how do you do that? You start by paying attention to the words you use every day. Most people speak out of habit. They talk just to talk. But a leader speaks with intention. You don't waste your words. You don't ramble. You don't water things down. You speak straight. You speak real. And you speak with the kind of presence that says, I've earned the right to be listened to. Now, confidence in your words also comes from preparation. If you don't know what you're talking about, your voice will shake. Your message will fall apart. That's why leaders prepare. They think, they reflect, they get clear, so that when the time comes to speak, they're not making it up as they go. They've already done the work. They've already thought through what matters. And that's why their words carry power, because those words have already been tested in their own life. Confidence also grows when your words and your actions match. If you say one thing and do another, people will see through it, and eventually you'll start doubting yourself too. You can't talk like a leader if you're not living like one, because people listen more to your example than your explanation. They listen more to how you live than to what you say. When your behavior backs up your words, then you don't have to try so hard to sound confident. You become confident because you've earned it. And another thing, stop apologizing for your truth. Stop shrinking your message to make other people comfortable. Leaders don't speak to be liked. They speak to be clear. They speak to lead. If you're always worried about what people think, you'll never say anything worth listening to. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be aggressive, but you do have to be firm. You do have to be real, and that means you own your truth, even if not everyone agrees with it. When you walk into a room and speak, the room should feel it. Not because you're loud, but because you're solid. You're steady and people can feel that you're not guessing your way through life. You've made decisions, you've built beliefs, you've tested ideas, and now you speak from experience, not just opinion. That's what gives your words weight. It also means you stop using soft language to protect your ego. Cut out the fillers, cut out the uncertainty. If you believe in something, say it. If you stand for something, speak it. If something's not right, call it out. Too many people weaken their voice trying to sound nice, but leadership isn't about sounding nice. It's about speaking what matters, even when it's uncomfortable. Confidence in your words also comes from being okay with silence. Weak speakers rush to fill every pause. They're afraid of quiet, but strong communicators know that silence can be powerful. You say something important, then you pause. You give people time to hear it, to feel it, to let it land. You don't rush. You don't beg for approval. You say what needs to be said, and then you wait. And that silence speaks just as loudly as your words. Now, here's something you should always remember. Your voice is your tool, not your crutch. You don't talk to prove yourself. You don't speak to look smart. You speak to serve a purpose. You speak to lead people towards something better. And when you know that, your voice changes, your tone shifts. You stop performing, you start leading, because now you're not talking to impress. You're talking to impact. Talking like a leader isn't about using big words. It's not about having the perfect grammar. It's not about showing off your vocabulary. It's about being clear. It's about being certain. It's about being real. People follow that. People respond to that. Because in a world full of noise, real voices stand out. So if you want to talk like a leader, the first thing you have to do is this. Own every word you say. Stop outsourcing your voice. Stop doubting your message. Speak with your chest. Speak from your gut. Speak like you mean it. And every time you do, your confidence grows. Your presence grows. Your leadership grows. Because once you own your words, you start owning your space. You show up differently. You carry yourself with a kind of quiet power. People can see it in your face. They can hear it in your tone. They can feel it in your presence. You're no longer trying to sound like a leader. You are one, and that changes everything. Chapter 2. Speak clearly so no one misunderstands your message. That's one of the most important habits you can develop if you want to lead people, influence them, or even just be taken seriously in your daily life. Clear speaking is not about being fancy. It's not about being complicated words. It's not about sounding impressive. It's about being understood. And when people understand you, they trust you. When they trust you, they listen. When they listen, things start to happen. But if people can't understand what you're saying, then it doesn't matter how good your ideas are. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter how well intentioned you are. If your words don't land, you lose the moment. You lose connection. You lose respect. And worst of all, people start filling in the blanks. They start guessing what you meant. And guess what? People rarely guess in your favor. That's why clarity is everything. If people don't hear you clearly, they will misunderstand you. And once your message gets lost, so does your influence. Talking like a leader means you take full responsibility for making your message clear. You don't dump information on people and expect them to figure it out. You think before you speak. You slow down. You strip away all the fluff. You stop trying to sound smart and focus on being understood. That's how strong communication begins. Most people never learn this. They talk fast. They ramble. They assume others know what they mean. They skip steps in their explanation. And they leave a trail of confusion everywhere they go. Then they wonder why people don't follow them, why people don't trust them, why their team is disorganized. The answer is simple. Unclear words create unclear minds. If people are confused after you speak, that's not their fault, it's yours. So what does clear speaking really look like? It starts with knowing what you want to say before you say it. If your thoughts are scattered, your words will be scattered. You have to think through your ideas. Be specific. Don't speak in vague terms. Say exactly what you mean. If you're asking someone to do something, say it in one straight line. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't try to sound impressive. Just be real and direct. Clarity also means cutting out all the extra words that water down your point. If you can say it in 5 words, don't use 15. If your message gets lost in too much talking, people tune out, they stop listening. They get overwhelmed, and once people stop listening, you lose their attention. Leaders don't waste attention. They get to the point and they stay on point. Speaking clearly means using words that people actually understand. Don't try to sound intelligent by using technical language. Speak their language, meet them where they are. If you're giving instructions to your team, explain it in a way that makes sense to them. If you're teaching someone something new, break it down simply, not because they aren't smart, but because your job is to connect, not confuse. One of the best things you can do to speak clearly is slow down. When you speak too fast, your words lose power. Your sentences run together. People miss key parts. Slowing down shows control. It shows thoughtfulness, and it gives people time to process what you're saying. Fast talking often comes from insecurity. People think they need to rush through their ideas to sound sharp. But leaders don't rush, they pause, they let their words settle. That pause makes people lean in. That pause adds weight to your message. You also need to be aware of your tone. Your tone carries meaning that your words alone can't. You can say the right words with the wrong tone and people will still take it the wrong way. Or you can say something simple with a strong tone and it will hit hard. Tone is your attitude made audible. If your tone is all over the place, too flat, too angry, too unsure, your message loses clarity. People won't know what to take seriously and what to ignore. That's why you train your tone to match your message. If you're serious, sound serious. If you're excited, sound excited. Don't send mixed signals. Another reason people fail to speak clearly is they get caught up trying to say everything at once. You don't need to tell the whole story in one breath. You don't need to explain every single detail all at once. Pick your main point and build around it. Stick to one idea at a time. Make it easy for people to follow. Give them time to absorb what you're saying. Simplicity isn't weakness, it's strength. If you can explain a big idea in a small number of words, that's leadership. Sometimes speaking clearly means repeating your main point once. The minimum discipline is repeating the same main point not 5 times, just once. And not because you're unsure, but because people need time to grasp what matters. You say it clearly, you pause, you say it again with certainty, then you move forward, not in circles, not in loops, straight ahead. You also need to pay attention to how people react when you talk. Watch their eyes. Watch their face. Are they confused? Are they distracted? Are they locked in? Your words should pull people in. If they're pulling away, adjust. Real leaders pay attention to feedback in real time. They clarify when needed. They ask, does that make sense? Not as filler, but as a genuine check. And if the answer is no, they don't defend. They explain again in a better way. And here's something most people overlook: your body language. Your message isn't just your words, it's your posture, it's your face, it's your hands, it's your presence. If your words say one thing and your body says something else, people will believe that means standing up straight. That means facing the person. That means showing that you're present, not distracted. It all adds to your clarity. Clear speaking is also built through practice. You don't wait for the big moments to develop this skill. You train it daily, you practice it in regular conversations, you work on getting to the point, you work on using better words, you work on asking better questions, you improve how you explain your ideas. That's how leaders sharpen their message, not just through big speeches, but through everyday conversations done right. Clarity is earned, it's a skill, it's a decision. Every time you open your mouth, you have the opportunity to build trust or break it. You have the chance to guide people or confuse them, and you have the responsibility to speak in a way that makes your message easy to understand. So, stop hiding behind complicated language. Stop hoping people will figure out what you meant. Stop rushing your words hoping they land. Make a new decision today. When you speak, you will speak clearly. You will speak with purpose. You will speak so nobody leaves confused about who you are and what you stand for. Speak like your words matter because they do. Speak like someone who knows where they're going. Speak like someone who's done the work and earned the right to be heard. That's how a leader talks. That's how a leader connects. That's how a leader builds something real. And that's the kind of person people choose to follow. Someone who makes their message clear every single time. Chapter 3. Control your voice before you try to lead. That's not a suggestion, it's a requirement, because your voice is more than sound. It's your presence, it's your attitude, it's your energy. And if your voice is not steady, your leadership will never be trusted. You can have the best intentions, a brilliant mind, strong values, but if your voice shakes, if it wavers, if it sounds unsure or scattered, people will hesitate to follow you. Why? Because people don't just listen to what you say, they listen to how you say it. You see, leadership starts with how you carry yourself, and your voice is a direct reflection of your inner world. If you're nervous, people hear it. If you're angry, people hear it. If you're unsure, people hear it. You can't hide that, and the more emotional noise lives inside you, the harder it becomes to speak with strength and direction. That's why before you step into a leadership role, before you try to influence anyone, you have to learn to control your own tone, your volume, your rhythm, and your emotional state. A leader doesn't just talk. They command attention, and not by being loud, not by talking over others, but by using a steady, calm, grounded voice that tells people, "I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to guide you." That's the difference. Loud people often want to be noticed. Grounded leaders want to be understood. There's a big difference between the two. When your voice is under control, people feel safe around you. They feel like you're not going to snap. You're not going to panic. You're not going to spin off into emotion. You're steady, and that steadiness creates trust. You can't lead if your voice is shaking every time you speak up. You can't lead if your tone changes with your mood. People get tired of following voices they can't predict. That unpredictability creates anxiety. And leadership is not about making people feel anxious. It's about giving them direction they can count on. So, how do you control your voice? You begin by becoming aware of it. Most people don't even notice how they sound. They've never listened to their tone. They've never recorded themselves. They don't know if they speak too fast, too soft, too harsh, or too flat. That's the first step. Self-awareness. Take the time to really hear yourself. Are you clear? Are you firm? Do you sound like someone who believes what they're saying? Or do you sound like someone hoping to be accepted? The more you know how you sound, the more you can take control of it. You start choosing your tone instead of letting your emotions choose it for you. If you're frustrated, you don't raise your voice. You stay calm and address the issue directly. If you're excited, you don't speed up and lose people. You hold the energy, but stay steady. Leadership demands that you show emotional control, and your voice is where people see it first. Another way to gain control is through breathing. Most people underestimate how important breathing is when you speak. Shallow breathing leads to fast talking, nervous energy, and shaky delivery. But when you slow your breath down, your voice naturally becomes stronger and deeper. You don't have to push it. It settles, it becomes deliberate, and people sense that control. Before every important conversation, every meeting, every decision, you center yourself. You breathe, you slow everything down internally, and then you speak. Control also means knowing when not to speak. A powerful voice isn't just about what you say, it's about what you hold back. If you speak out of impulse, you'll say things you regret. You'll create damage that takes a long time to repair. But if you train yourself to pause, to think, to listen, you'll speak fewer words, but they'll carry more weight. And that's what leadership communication is all about. Fewer words, more meaning. Think about the leaders you respect most. They didn't rush through their words, they didn't fumble, they didn't ramble on, they spoke with purpose. Every sentence had a job to do, every word carried meaning, they weren't trying to sound important. They were grounded, that's what gave their voice authority, and that kind of authority doesn't come from titles. It doesn't come from volume, it comes from inner strength. It comes from discipline, and that discipline must be developed. You practice your voice like any other skill. You train it. You rehearse not to fake it, but to refine it. If you speak in public, practice it beforehand. Listen to yourself. Adjust. If you're leading a team, don't just speak off the top of your head. Prepare your tone, your delivery, your pacing. Strong leaders don't rely on chance when it comes to communication. They take it seriously because they know every word, every tone, every pause can either build or break what they're trying to lead. Also understand that your voice is not just used in big moments. It matters in small conversations, in one-on-ones, in giving feedback, in dealing with conflict. Every moment you speak, people are watching. They're asking themselves, can I trust this person? Do they mean what they say? Are they in control or are they unstable? That trust is built or destroyed based on how well you've mastered your tone, your message, your energy. And energy is everything. If your voice lacks energy, people won't feel your words. You can't motivate people with a dead tone. You can't inspire with flat delivery. You don't need to be loud, but you do need to be alive. Your voice needs to carry belief. It needs to show that you care. You need to be fully present in your words. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how good your ideas are, they'll fall flat. Leadership also means managing your emotional triggers. When things go wrong, when people push your buttons, when situations get intense, you must be able to hold your ground without your voice cracking or rising. If your voice changes every time you're under pressure, people lose trust in your stability. They may respect your knowledge, but they'll hesitate to follow you when it counts. Control means staying calm even when things are falling apart. That calmness is what people remember. It's what helps others stay steady, too. When your voice is trained, your leadership becomes sharper. You speak with focus, you lead with presence, you guide with strength, and people feel it. They know they're in the presence of someone who isn't just talking to be heard. They're talking because they have something worth hearing. So take your voice seriously, not for performance, but for influence. Train it daily, reflect on it, record yourself, ask for honest feedback. Adjust your tone until it reflects strength and clarity. Practice speaking under pressure. Practice holding your ground without shouting. Build the kind of voice that calms people, moves people, and earns respect without ever needing to demand it. Because before anyone will follow you, they will first listen to you. And before they listen to you, they will judge your voice. Not your accent, not your vocabulary, but the presence, the energy, and the control behind it. When your voice reflects discipline, purpose, and steadiness, people feel safe. They feel confident, and they begin to trust your leadership, not because you told them to, but because your voice proved it. That's how you lead. That's where leadership begins. Before you ask others to follow, make sure your voice is ready to guide. Not sometimes, not when you feel like it. Every time, in every room, in every moment. Because once your voice is steady, your leadership starts to become real. Chapter 4. Say things that actually move people to act. That's what leadership communication is really about. It's not just about talking. It's not about sounding smart. It's about speaking in a way that creates movement. A leader's words don't just fill time, they change minds, they wake people up. They make someone stop what they're doing and think differently. They make someone take a step they've been avoiding. When you speak as a leader, your words need to have power, not emotional hype, but practical push. Your words should lead to action. Otherwise, you're just another voice in the background. People hear a lot every day. They're flooded with opinions, distractions, instructions, advice, but most of it doesn't move them. It passes through and disappears. What they remember is what made them feel something strong enough to shift them out of comfort and into motion. And that's your job, to say things that wake people up without shouting, to speak in a way that reaches not just their ears but their core. That kind of speaking doesn't come from memorizing lines. It comes from knowing why you're saying what you're saying. It comes from clarity, from intention, from experience. Before you try to influence others, check your motive. Are you trying to impress or impact? Are you just repeating what you've heard? Or are you speaking from a place that's been tested in real life? People can tell when your words are just information versus when your words are real. Real words carry pressure, they carry weight, they don't float, they land, and when they land, people move. If you want to move people, speak directly to their pain. Speak to the part of them that's tired of excuses. Speak to the frustration they carry, but never say out loud. Speak to the decision they've been delaying. You don't need to say it perfectly. You just need to say it truthfully. The truth hits. The truth stings, but it also frees. People are surrounded by soft talk. Everyone's telling them to take it easy, to wait for the right time to avoid discomfort. That's not what they need from a leader. They need someone to say, "You've waited long enough, you've been hiding, you've been settling," not with judgment, but with clarity. When someone says what needs to be said, people wake up, and you don't move people by over-explaining. Say it once, say it clearly, say it with strength, and let it sit. If you drag your point through 5 examples, you lose the spark. The message gets buried. Say it short, sharp, and straight. And once it's said, don't water it down. People need clarity, not comfort. They need something to hold on to, not something to overthink. If you want them to act, give them something clean and firm. People don't act on vague ideas, they act on solid direction. Another key is urgency. People don't move without urgency. Your words should carry a sense that something must be done now, not in 6 months, not when life feels better, now, not with panic, but with pressure. You need to show them what's at stake. If they don't move, what happens? If they stay the same, what do they lose? If they keep waiting, what will it cost them? That's how you trigger action, not with fear, but with truth. The truth that staying where you are is often the most dangerous decision, and speak in language they understand, use words they use. If your message sounds too polished, people tune out. They think it's not for them. But if it sounds like it came from someone who's walked where they're walking, who's fought what they're fighting, they'll listen. You don't need perfect grammar or clever sentences. You need to sound real. You need to sound like someone who means what they say and says what they mean. It's not just what you say, it's how much you mean it. If you don't believe your own message, nobody else will. Your tone carries your belief. If you're giving advice you don't live, people will sense it. If you're telling people to be disciplined while living undisciplined, your words lose power. But if your words come from your personal standard, they hit hard. That's why your life must match your message. When it does, your words gain strength without needing volume. People are not looking for motivation. They're looking for permission to change. They want to know it's okay to leave what's familiar. They want to hear that they're allowed to demand more of themselves. And your words can unlock that. Your words can pull the switch, but only if they're direct, real, and aimed at action. Don't talk around the issue. Don't sugarcoat it. Say what they need to hear and then challenge them to do something with it. Sometimes what moves people is not inspiration, it's confrontation. You say something that they've been avoiding. You hold up a mirror, you call it out, not with anger, but with honesty. That moment of discomfort becomes the turning point. Many people are waiting for someone to call them higher, not by yelling, not by guilt, but by saying, "You're capable of more, and it's time to act like it." That line, if said right, can shift someone's life, and don't fall into the trap of trying to say what's popular, say what's needed. Leaders don't chase applause, they chase progress. The room might not cheer. That's fine, they'll think about it. They'll sit with it. And if it's real, they'll move. You're not trying to entertain. You're trying to build something. So speak like someone who takes responsibility for the effect of their words. And never forget, silence can be just as powerful. If your words are strong, you don't need to say much. One sentence followed by silence can do more than a 5-minute lecture. It gives the message room to breathe. It gives people space to respond internally. If your words are filled with truth, don't rush to keep talking. Let it land, let it echo. You also move people by making things simple. Complexity creates hesitation. But when you break something down into a clear next step, people feel ready. Say it like this: start today, make the call, write it down, fix it now. Don't leave them guessing. Move them from thought to decision, from idea to action, from good intentions to actual change. And remember, you don't need to say more, you need to say it better. Don't crowd your message, don't soften your edges. Speak to the real issue. Say the words people are afraid to say. Call out the habits that keep them stuck. Say what others won't. That's how a leader speaks. That's how a leader moves people. Because when your words carry truth, urgency, and direction, when your voice is calm, controlled, and certain, when your message is focused on what matters most, then people stop scrolling, stop waiting, and start moving. They stop living in delay and start living on purpose. Speak in a way that matters. Speak to the part of people that's hungry for more. Speak with enough pressure to wake them up and enough clarity to show them where to go next. That's how you lead. That's how you earn attention. That's how you move people. Not with noise, but with words that carry weight. And those words must come from a place inside you that's already moved. Because what moves you is what will move others. Speak from that place. Speak from your standards. Speak from your scars. Speak from what you've learned the hard way. That's what makes your voice different. That's what makes your message matter. That's what makes people act. Chapter 5. Use strong words that build respect and attention. That's a skill most never take seriously, but every leader must master. People don't follow voices that are weak, unsure, or filled with fluff. They follow voices that speak with substance, and strong words don't mean harsh words. They mean words that hold meaning, words that carry weight, and words that show you've earned the right to be heard. Every time you speak, you're either building credibility or losing it. You're either gaining attention or being ignored. It all comes down to your word choice. Weak words are forgettable. Strong words are remembered. To talk like a leader, you have to understand the impact your words make. Not just the meaning, but the tone, the presence, the power behind them. Strong words demand attention, not because they're loud, but because they're precise. When you speak with clear, strong language, people stop and listen. They sense you're serious. They feel your confidence. You don't have to repeat yourself. You don't have to over-explain. One sentence spoken with power and clarity can change the direction of a conversation, and in some cases, a life. Weak language creates doubt. When you use phrases like I think, maybe, I guess, or sort of, you dilute your message, you strip it of strength, and people stop listening. Strong words are clean, they are direct. They don't leave space for confusion. They show you've made a decision. You're not offering a suggestion. You're making a statement. And when people hear that kind of certainty, they're more likely to respect your voice. If you're always trying to be soft, trying not to offend, trying to please everyone, you'll end up saying nothing that matters. People respect clarity. They follow someone who speaks the truth, even if it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Strong words are not about being aggressive, they're about being unshakable. You don't raise your voice, you raise your standard. That's what makes people pay attention. Your choice of words reflects your standards. If you've settled for average in your thinking, your words will sound average. But if you've demanded more from yourself, your words will reflect that. Strong words come from a strong mindset. When your thinking is clear, your language becomes powerful. If you speak with strength, it's because you've built strength inside. You've dealt with pressure. You've faced challenges. You've earned your voice. People don't just want to hear information. They want to hear belief. They want to feel conviction. If your words are filled with doubt, you lose them. But when you speak from your core, when you say things you've lived, people lock in because they can feel the difference between talk and truth. Talk is easy. Truth takes discipline, and when your words are based on truth, people can't ignore you. Using strong words also means eliminating all the filler. Cut the phrases that do nothing, kind of. It's like those weaken your impact. They create noise, and leadership is not about noise. It's about precision. One clear sentence delivered without hesitation is more powerful than a 10-minute speech filled with filler. Say less, but say it better. To gain respect when you speak, you have to respect your own words. That means you don't talk just to talk. You don't speak when you haven't thought. Every sentence has a purpose. Every word has intention. That's how people begin to respect you, not just because of what you say, but because of how carefully you say it. Attention is earned, it's not automatic, and it's not about being flashy. It's about being solid. Your words should be like anchors. When you say something, it stays. People carry it with them. They think about it later, because it wasn't just a sound, it was a statement. If your words fade as soon as they're heard, you're not leading. You're blending in. The language of leadership is bold, not reckless. It's confident, not arrogant, and it's always clear. Clarity is power. If someone has to ask, what did you mean by that? You've already lost them. People follow voices that are easy to understand but hard to ignore. That's the balance, simplicity and strength combined. No fluff, no ego, just truth delivered directly. There's also something else you need to know. Strong words must be earned. You can't fake them. If your life doesn't match your message, your words will feel empty. That's why personal discipline matters. That's why living with standards matters, because your voice gains power from your example. When you've lived what you speak, you don't have to convince people. They feel it, they hear it, it's different. You build attention when your words bring value. Every time you speak, ask yourself, is this helping someone think better, act better, live better? If the answer is no, don't say it. Save your energy for what matters. Leaders don't speak to fill time, they speak to shift something. And when your words consistently deliver value, people make space for you. They stop scrolling. They stop moving. They listen. Strong words are also honest, not cruel, but honest. You say the thing that needs to be said. You don't hide behind comfort. You don't dress it up. You tell the truth clearly and directly. Most people avoid this. They speak in circles. They soften everything. But when you talk like a leader, you speak with boldness. You say, "This isn't working." You say, "This needs to change." You say, "Here's what has to happen." That kind of clarity builds respect. Not everyone will like it, but they will remember it. And when people remember your words, you become a voice of influence, not because you forced it, but because you earned it. You spoke with focus, with courage, with precision. That's what sets leaders apart. They don't speak more, they speak stronger, and that strength doesn't come from shouting. It comes from self-control, from thought, from responsibility. Every room you enter is full of voices. Most of them blur together, but when someone speaks with weight, with depth, with clarity, everyone turns. That's your goal, not to be the loudest, but to be the one people stop for, because what you say carries something real. That's leadership, and leadership starts with how you talk to yourself. If your internal voice is weak, your outer voice will be weak too. Speak strong inside first. No more self-doubt. No more playing small. You train your mind to think with strength, and your words will follow. You say, "I can do this. I will make it better. I refuse to stay average." When you talk to yourself with strength, you begin to talk to the world the same way. So, choose your words with care, speak with conviction, speak with strength. Cut out the soft language that wastes people's time. Speak to be clear, not liked. Speak to make an impact, not just fill silence. Speak from experience, not theory. When your words are strong, people feel it. They listen longer, they trust more, and they remember. That's how respect is built. That's how attention is earned, not through noise, but through strong, clear, real words that speak directly to what matters. You don't need a crowd, you don't need approval, you need discipline, you need belief, and you need the courage to speak as someone who means every word. That's what leadership sounds like, and that's what people will follow. Not just words, but words that lead.